Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to Helck, episode 13, which is essentially the second core. Yeah, because Helck is 24 episodes. We have seen the first 12, and now the latter 12 start. Right, yeah. This episode is a little bit late, as you could probably notice. Fair bit late, actually. I think over a day, something thereabouts. But yeah, I wasn't feeling well yesterday. I was really in no shape to be recording anything. I still feel a little under the weather today, even to be perfectly honest with you. But at least I should be fine to be recording things. What can I say? Winter is coming, unfortunately, and I find it very easy to get any sorts of infections and stuff, and also winter depression. Hooray! That's also something I have to struggle with every year. Hopefully, this year it's gonna be a little better. Regardless, Helck, episode 12. What happened at the end of the previous core? Well, something significant. Something very significant, and that is we finally got a full establishment. It was fully established how much trust Helck has for Vermilio, and Vermilio has for Helck. So far, we essentially followed Vermilio. She was our main character, so to speak, or rather, she was the protagonist while Helck was the main character, because those aren't always the same thing. And we had very little insight into Helck's head. Now that he seems to trust Vermilio a lot, we will get some insight into him through Vermilio, which is interesting, and I can't wait for today's episode. Besides that, it was also revealed that the Human King, or the Angels, or whatever you want to call them, their goal isn't to win necessarily. Their goal so far seems to be keep training, keep getting better. We don't know. We aren't sure. The obvious answer would be, of course, that they don't need to win. They just need to get stronger to win eventually. But something tells me the simplest answer is not necessarily the most correct one in this case, and in the case of Helck as a whole, as a show, because Helck isn't that simple of a show. On the surface, perhaps, but not in the deep. Anything else? We know that Asdra knows that Vermilio is alive and still moving. We spent a little time with Pee-wee and the gang walking around the city, looking at, I don't know, some stuff and having fun in general. Even Vermilio, despite not showing that, probably had some fun like everybody else did. And in today's episode, we will see Helck's backstory. And I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more about him, because so far he seems to be the biggest, the most opaque character that we've seen. He's the character we know the least about. The character that creates the most speculation, right? What exactly happened to him to start hating humanity so much? What's the deal with his brother, who is the hero who won the war and whatnot? Why is Helck not also lauded as a hero, right? What's going on there? And yeah, and that's what I expect to see today. Helck's backstory, Helck's brother probably appearing within it, because he seems a fairly important character in Helck's life. And also, one more important thing that happened in the previous episode, we got an explanation about Helck's sword, that it's a hero killer. It's the sword that, although broken, can still very much kill a hero, and it's probably one of the few weapons that might be able to kill Helck, and Helck of course wanted to give it to Vermilio in case that he goes monkey mode again and needs to be stopped. But Vermilio has enough trust in him to not want that weapon, she trusts him to be able to stop himself, essentially. I'm usually not really dressed that well, but it's cold. I mean, cold, 24 and change degrees, but compared to 30 degrees in the summer, it's getting cold. And the, not refrigerators, what am I talking about? The heaters, the heaters aren't working yet. Regardless, that does it for the housekeeping. We should just start watching this show. How about that? To do it, you will of course need your subs to follow along with me. I'm going to need my sound to hear what's going on. And I'm gonna have to ask you guys for your support. Support the channel monetarily on Patreon, link down below, or YouTube, or not. Share my content, spread the word, it costs you nothing and helps a lot. And with all of that out of the way, we can start watching episode 13 of Helck in 3, 2, 1, go. And why did I bother with a recap if we just get the recap here? Yeah, as I said, I might be, sniffling a little. Yep. That's what we've all been waiting for. Right, not just Helck's backstory, but also what the fuck happened with the human realm. New OP! Hey! Hey! I called it. A lot of snowflake symbolism. Interesting. Seeing how Vermilio is fire. Helck is physical damage, if you can call it that. Oh, is that why snowflakes? Because the story of Helck and Kalis is the name of his brother, I think. Is taking them through some snowy mountains. Okay, cool. I think I prefer the first opening, although it might just grow on me. Okay, so we learn about their past. Kali's getting bullied. Kless. And those are probably kids of, I don't know, royalty or something. Yeah, nobility. Yeah, a fairly classic story, all things considered. Again, not saying bad, just, fairly classic. two orphaned brothers or siblings otherwise, alone against the world. One of them promises to protect the other. Yeah. You would probably be more likely to find work in the countryside, plowing the fields and whatnot. Okay, true. They are, hidden behind some thick city walls. That's at least the second broken sword in Helck's life. Okay. So he had the recovery abilities ever since childhood. Okay. Yeah, he was born a hero, essentially. That's unexpected. Mm-hmm. Yep. Hero among heroes, essentially. Yeah. Yeah, so security. That's why they didn't opt for some rural areas. Yep. Sounds like a plan. Uh, monsters in the sewers? Ah, okay. Illness. A plague, perhaps. And as a last-ditch effort to save Kless's life, he went through some sort of a heroification process. That would be another fairly classic way it goes. Work. Of course. Everything's setting up Kless's death. But we know that he survived because he's the hero of humanity, isn't he? Or was it Helck who took on Kless's name and made a name for himself as a hero? Of course. Okay, I was expecting someone looking a little bit more shady. No, she probably went somewhere to bring... Yep. A doctor or someone. Okay, is he actually a good-natured man, or is he a shady character who's going to do some human experimentation? Okay. Seems to be a decent person. Okay, I'm just waiting for things to go tits up. And I was about to ask, when is the mansion getting burned and both the noble and his entire family dying? Oh, it's one of the angels. Gjila? And I think this is another one. Kless. Kless. Yep. Okay, so everything seems to be going well. Okay, I'm just waiting for something to go wrong. Because the initial part of the story really gives Helck some reason to hate humanity. But everything seems to be going fine from that point on. So there is no reason for Helck to hold on to that anger, right? They're leading decent lives. Shalami. Yeah, so again, the life is looking good. Okay, sure. Yep. An idealist, right? We made it out, but what about the other people? They're still living miserable lives. And not everybody can count on being as lucky as we are. So I'm going to enlist and get rid of the monsters. Yep. And he awakened the hero powers eventually. Just like Helck, is it, in their blood? Is it genetic? Or has Kless been just a normal person all this time, but simply really good at what he's doing? Helck doesn't seem particularly pleased. Okay, and Helck is just a manual laborer all the time. Yep. Well, thankfully you don't necessarily need to use swords. You have your fists to do that. What's with the music? The music's kinda unsettling. That's a nice fit. Yep. Is Shalami gonna die a tragic death? Yeah, but it's not like there was some wedge driven between them, like, Kless suddenly becoming too good to be meeting with Helck and, all of his achievements getting to his head. So I'm, again, looking for a reason for Helck's hatred for humanity. Is he not going to come back alive? Oh? Okay, give me a cliffhanger, why don't you? Okay. We still have like 2.5 minutes left. Maybe there's gonna be some after credits scene. Okay, so far, Helck's and Kless's life seems to be going really well. There were multiple occasions where the situation could go completely tits up and make Helck hateful. Is that Shalami? Yeah, it is Shalami. But nothing like that happened. Every time there was a chance for a situation to go in the good direction or go in the bad direction, it went in the good direction. So what's going on? Oh, not after credits, preview. And okay, so Helck is gonna be hired as a mercenary together with Edil. It's Edil. Okay, so we have in this episode already seen 3 of the angels. We've seen Edil right now. We've seen we have seen Harui, I believe, and we've seen the other one who isn't listed on the list of characters, or at least doesn't have the portrait so that I could recognize him. Zelgion, probably, because he's fairly up in the list of characters, but doesn't have a whatchamacallit, a portrait. Okay, let's watch it again, shall we? One moment. Rafaed Sharuami Rafaed. Ah, never mind. Okay. Yeah, last time on Dragon Ball Z, we get a new opening. It's fine. It's fine. It's not, you know, world shaking. It's not, you know, Call of the Night opening, you know, but it's serviceable. Arguably, this song is kind of more fit to be an ED in my opinion, but sure, whatever. Doesn't really matter all that much. This is Class, and he is not having a good time. Body and soul completely transformed. Well, those lyrics at this moment really lead me to believe that Class is going to go through some really painful sort of transformation in his life or something like that, and perhaps my theory of human experimentation will come true yet. Where's Helck continued? Helck. There we go. I really didn't leave myself enough space for Helck, did I? Oh, maybe I did. Class is being experimented on to create the heroification process. Right? They hooked him up to some machinery, stripped him of his skin, whatever, to figure out the hero factor. To be able to implement that hero factor in, you know, mass-produced heroes. Yep. To figure out the heroification process to mass produce. That would also explain Helck's hatred, right? Class saved humanity. Class saved people so much, helped them so much, destroyed the monsters, and this is how they pay him back? By hooking him up to some arcane machinery and pumping his blood to create heroification serum? Is that what humanity is? Perhaps in the process, their savior, whatever his name is Rafaed. I'm not sure. Rafaed's portrait here is black and white, so I don't know. But perhaps they would die in the process, perhaps trying to shelter Class and or being taken hostage so that Class goes with them, or, you know, something along those lines. What are their names? Shalami. Oh, Sharuami. Sharuami. Okay, I get it. I guess it makes sense. Okay, so Shalami and Rafaed die trying to shelter Class or something thereabouts, or are taken hostage, so Class cooperates, then killed once he gets successfully hooked up to the machinery, or perhaps Shalami is still kept hostage somewhere, and Rafaed perhaps is dead, trying to protect his daughter. I think I might be onto something here. The neighbor to Utopia. What's with the snowflakes, though? Sure, okay, winter, Helck and Class living through the winter and whatnot, but it seems to be just, the first half of this episode has any winter theme to it. So I wonder if perhaps Vermilio and Helck will have to travel through some snowy mountains or something. Or does it just signify the coldness of human hearts? Because it's also very much plausible. Getting beaten up by nobility, barely surviving on some bread, their village being ravaged by monsters, their family all getting killed, and now the brothers need to take care of themselves. Extremely classic story. Honestly, again, I'm not saying it's bad. Tropes and certain story beats doesn't mean they're bad inherently. It's when you don't do anything except using tropes that's what makes it bad. Helck does a lot of innovative and cool things, so it works. Yeah, it works, but doesn't change the fact it's a fairly classic story. And it seems Helck's heroism has been awakened from a very young age. Has Class's not been? Yeah, seems like Class's heroism was a fairly latent ability. It didn't awaken as early as in Helck. And our home would get ransacked. Yeah, again, classic. Despite running away from shitty circumstances, they got themselves again into shitty circumstances, but at least something, right? At least they are safe behind thick city walls. At least they are safe from the monsters. So it's a little bit of a step up, but still a step up. Bread with cheese, some scrambled eggs. That's a nice breakfast. Grilled cheese and scrambled eggs. That's always a nice breakfast. Yeah, malnutrition, sure. It's a nice breakfast, yes, but doesn't necessarily have enough nutrients. You need to eat at least some fruit. Again, they would probably be fed better in the countryside, even if they had to harvest some berries and whatnot. But countryside doesn't protect them. Their village was already ransacked by monsters, and chances are no villages really have any particular protection. I was afraid for a moment, or well, afraid, not necessarily. I thought for a moment that there is some sort of a plague going through the city, right? And this is going to turn Helck's and Kless's life even more miserable because they ran away from the monsters to the capital, but now the capital is being ransacked by a plague. So now they can either stay in the plagued city and die of plague inevitably, or they can go out there, possibly die to the monsters, but be able to escape the plague, right? Between hammer and a hard place. And we saw that scene of Helck carrying his brother through the mountains, so I thought that they might escape from the capital and go travel the mountains to perhaps find some place to hide. Of course, trying to look for help, but nobody wants to help. Very, matchstick girl kind of a story, kinda, sorta. But again, classic story. Very classic story. Couple of orphans having trouble, looking for help. Nobody wants to help them because that's how it looks, because that's the reality of vaguely kind of sort of Victorian era, from the style of buildings and whatnot, and the style of clothes, kind of sort of thereabouts. Things might actually be better if we tried living with the monsters. Possibly. That's why I thought it might actually be a possibility that they run away from the city and meet some sort of I don't know, seashore for the lack of a better words, who lives somewhere in the mountains and wants to take them in as his, I don't know, trainees or whatever, right? And they're gonna live in the mountains, training, helping him carry water and whatnot, and they will be protected from the monsters and whatnot. I'm gonna put on muscle until I'm strong enough to beat them. Didn't take you a long time. This is another way I thought it might go really, really dark. That perhaps Kles is just going to die. And everybody knows, everybody believes that Kles is the hero because it was Helck taking Kles's name in his honor, essentially, right? Helck registering for the military and giving the name Kles. And making the name for himself as Kles, as a tribute to his brother, or something thereabouts. But thinking of it, we've seen their photo when Kles was grown up, so probably not the case. Then I thought that, especially when I heard this voice, what I had in mind was the blonde guy, the blonde boy from Shy, who seemingly set the hospital on fire. I had in mind Mephisto from Arknights, you know, some sort of a young, shady boy who will probably bring in Kles for some human experimentation, because maybe their father is a mad scientist, or they themselves are a mad scientist who are trying to figure out the secret to being a hero, or are trying to awaken a hero. And human subject, hell yes, sign me the fuck up. Willing human subject? Hell yeah, sure, I'm gonna save your brother and whatnot, but I'm gonna inject him with some special serum, and I'm also gonna inject you with some special serum, and I'm gonna take your blood, and I'm gonna take your liver, and, you know, I really thought it's gonna be something thereabouts, but it seems like it's a fairly normal girl. Then I thought this guy is shady. Especially as he's approaching and we don't see his face quite yet. Then his face turns out to be fairly friendly, all things considered. And it seems like everything's going fine. And all this time I was wondering, what the fuck is gonna go wrong? What's gonna be the moment that makes Helck so radicalized when it comes to humanity? This is Zelgion, I believe, I think. And this is Harul. Yeah, Harul, I think. Kles Ex Machina. Yeah, he awakened as a hero in the end, after all. What's her face? Shalami was playing with them. Life was really looking up. Life was really, you know, going well. So again, what radicalized Helck so much? And again, fairly classic way things go is one of the brothers decides to join the military and make a name for himself. Meanwhile, Helck is just, you know, watering flowers, doing whatever, doing some construction work. He's humble. He knows that he's strong, but oh, it's just carrying bricks. I carry bricks a lot, you know, that's how I gain this muscle. I'm not anybody special, you know. My brother is special. My brother is the hero. I'm just a nobody, really. I really like Helck's personality. He's so incredibly humble. Kles made a name for himself. Helck is making this face very often. And the shadow underneath his chin gets so overblown. And it really reminds me of when they you know, over-render Helck's face with all those shadows and whatnot when he goes monkey mode, right? When he goes psycho mode. Really made me believe at more occasions than one that Helck is taking some issue with Kless being the hero, with Kless making a name for himself. And I thought, especially now when Helck is waiting for them and Kless is walking around with Shalami, that there's going to be some, some wedge placed between those brothers. Either Kless has no time for Helck anymore because he's attending all sorts of parties and trainings and going for some conferences to the next country over to teach their knights or, stuff like that. He simply has no time. Or Kless's fame got into his head and now he's too good to be meeting with some, lousy manual laborer. Who even are you at this point? But it seems to not be the case. Then I thought that perhaps Shalami is gonna bring a wedge between them, because maybe Helck has some feelings for Shalami, but no, not the case either. All this time, I've been expecting something to go tits up. Nothing did. Things are only getting better and better and better and better. Nothing goes wrong. Yeah, I'm going to be leaving for the capital for another expedition the day after tomorrow. And when I come back, make me a welcome party. This is something going tits up. We never got the chance to have that welcome back party. Because I couldn't stick around. This is also important. I couldn't stick around. Helck couldn't stick around. Initially, I thought we couldn't have the party because Kless died, Kless got captured, Kless got taken in by the Human King to start experimentation. Something happened to Kless. Not that Helck couldn't stick around. What could possibly be the reason? What could possibly be the reason? It's also interesting because it seems like whatever reason there is for Helck to not stick around has nothing to do with Kless, because Kless was out on an expedition during that time. So it's not like, I don't know, Kless came back to the city and then Human King's people tried to capture him, to experiment on him. And so Kless, last-ditch effort, tried to stop those people and told Helck, run, brother, run away, save yourself, take Shalami with you. Or, something along those lines. No. Kless was away. Helck was just a normal human laborer. Could it be that his heroism was discovered by someone? Because if Rafaed could tell that Helck is a hero, I'm willing to bet some other people would be able to tell as well. But Helck didn't want to be a hero. Helck didn't want to fight. So he decided to run away? Likely. But why the hatred for humanity? Helck got information that something happened to Kless, and Shalami got captured as a hostage or something along those lines, and so he decided to run away and come back with a vengeance? Likely. But would it be to that degree? No. If anything, Helck would be then motivated by, I want to save my brother, I want to save Shalami. They've been taken in by the Human King. Shalami has been taken hostage to make Kless cooperative. Kless has been taken in to be experimented on. I'm looking for the allies. I came here to the demon realm so that I can be sure. Why not? I'm gonna become the demon king. Why the fuck not at this point? And then I'm gonna bring you all to the human realm, and I'm gonna save my fucking brother and his girlfriend. But it's not what directs Helck. It's not his goal, at least not as stated. His goal is to destroy humanity. His brother, Shalami, nobody else is part of his plan. I want to destroy humanity. One and only explanation would be that everybody who Helck cared about has died. Kless is dead, Shalami is dead, Raphael is dead, and it's because of the actions of the Human King or humanity as a whole. So Helck has nobody to save. His entire motivation is vengeance. That would be the one and only explanation. It would also explain why Kless is not in the picture. Right? We have the artificial heroes going to fight the demons. Why isn't Kless among them? One explanation would be that he's kept captive in some basement, hooked up to some aperture to suck out his heroic powers and create hero serum. Another explanation would be that he's dead. But if he's taken captive, why is Helck's motivation not to save his brother? We still have a lot of questions, and we're gonna have to wait for another episode to answer them. But before then, I want to check out voice actors for Raphael and where are you? Shalami, because we haven't checked them out yet. Raphael is voiced by Atsushi Miyauchi, who also voiced someone in Boogie Pop, Chocolata in JoJo, and nobody else that I would recognize, I'm afraid. Niji in One Piece. And Shalami Raphael is voiced by Yumiri Hanamori, who also voices Nadeshiko from Yuru Camp, Vera and the Girl Murder Farce, Liliza in Benria Saito-san, Hoshino in Blue Archive, Evil Eye in Overlord, Akira in Yofukashi no Uta, plenty of other characters. It's not the first time I see this. I see her voice some characters this season. Shizue in Slime Ito. Popko, of course. Who hasn't voiced Popko yet? And there we go. Okay. I checked what I needed to check. So, yeah, I don't think I have anything more to say on the topic. Right. Okay. Cool episode, but on one hand, left me wanting more, because, I want to know, I need to know what happened, what went so tits up to make Helck hate humanity as a whole. And yeah, on one hand it was good and left me wanting more. On the other, it was kind of unsatisfying, because I came into this episode with certain questions, and none of those questions were really answered. So yeah, it really left me wanting because of that cliffhanger, and it's good because it means the story is so engaging that I can't wait to hear more. but it's also bad because this single episode in isolation really didn't give me all that much. But this is fairly common, I guess, for slow burn shows, slow burn stories, that they burn slowly, and it takes some time, some more time, to hear full explanations and full backstories and whatnot. Helck definitely will benefit, or rather, yeah, Helck will benefit from bingeability. When it comes out, when all of the episodes are out, and whoever decides to watch Helck once the entirety of it is out, is going to have a little bit of a better time watching it. 100%. Because those cliffhangers are one thing. You know, cliffhangers are whatever. They appear in fast-paced shows, slow-paced shows. There is no real actual rule. But the fact that we can have an episode where, I don't want to say nothing happens, but nothing strictly related to the story happens. And it's an entire episode of that really makes you want to be able to binge this show. Yeah. I think that's it. Good episode overall. I enjoyed myself. I really enjoyed feeling that tension all this time. You know, when are things going to go bad? When are things going to go bad? Oh, is this a bad person? Oh, is this what's gonna happen? Oh, is she gonna die? And all of my concerns were immediately discarded, immediately alleviated. No, they're gonna live a good life, actually. Really reminds me of not Hitsugi no Chaika, Irina the Vampire Cosmonaut. What's the Japanese name for it? Tsugito Laketo no Sferatu. Yeah, Tsugito Laketo no Sferatu. It also had a lot of that, you know, constant tension. You're afraid for the lives of the characters, and for a good reason, and then ultimately nothing happens. It's really cool. I highly recommend you watch Tsugito Laketo no Sferatu, because it's the first time I've been met with a show that does that constant tension, despite you having, you know, knowing that, hey, last time it happened, nothing bad actually happened. You still can't help but feel this constant tension. It's really cool. It's really cool. Yeah, I'm afraid for the lives of Chalamet and Raphael. That's for sure. If there is a character that will die in this story, it's them, because they are the only people who care about Helck and Kles, and they are the only people that Helck and Kles care about, besides each other, of course. So, yeah, I'm afraid for them. Not so much afraid for Kles, because if he's really a hero, then he can regenerate eventually, whatever happens to him. I'm not afraid for Helck for obvious reasons. We know he's alive. But when it comes to Chalamet and Raphael, I'm afraid for their lives. And now I need to wait another week. Well, not the entire week, because again, I was a day late with this episode, but I'm gonna have to wait regardless. Shit. But yeah, okay, that's gonna be it, I think. That's gonna be it from me, but maybe you guys have something more to add. If so, say so in the comments down below. What did you think of this episode, my reaction, my theories, stuff like that? Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, but tell me why so I can improve. No spoilers in the comments. Spoilers, go to the Discord as usual. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Helck, but also Shy, Zom 100, Magia Record, Shangri-La Frontier, Ancient Magus Bride, Nanatsu no Magengashi Haisuru, Undead Girl Murder for Farce, and others coming at you in the future. Click the bell icon to be notified of when I go live, because I also stream sometimes. Support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon or YouTube itself, linked down below. On Patreon for $10 a month, you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Magia Record, and for just $1, you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. And if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, share my content, spread the word. It costs you absolutely nothing and helps the channel a lot. And now, with all of that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's my wonderful patrons: QB, Without the Net, The Crippled Survivor, Zetran, Zayrainer, Shoshu, Aquamancer, Fassel, David, Dr. Watt, Marsh, UKLI, and Hans Peter. And you can join them without having to beg for bread.